Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast right here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel. Brought to you by gamblersWORLD.net and gamblersWORLD.com, our sponsor sites. And today I am joined, like every Wednesday, by Mr. Jesse Schule and Sean Higgs. I'm Ross Benjamin, all three of us of gamblersWORLD.net, folks. And before I get to my guest here, quick reminders over at gamblersWORLD.net. Today's the last day of first four part of the NCAA tournament. And if you buy either one of those games from any one of our handicappers, we're going to give you an automatic credit on whatever you spent, win or lose. So again, the two games we're talking about today, Grambling and Montana State, and Colorado and Boise State. So check the games up for sale right now. Check whatever your handicapper you want to use. Make that purchase and know that whatever you spent on that purchase, we will automatically credit you so you could use that money toward any future purchase throughout the NCAA tournament or whatever you would like to use it on. Secondly, a lot of you out there filling out the March Madness brackets all over the place, and I'm one of them, and I'm sure Jesse and Sean are too. But the bottom line is we have our own March Madness bracket tournament going on right now over at gamblersworld.net. $1,000 in prize money, costs you absolutely nothing to enter. And $500 will go to the first prize winner. The other $500 will be split up between second, third, and fourth place. And even more so, top 10 finishers will all get a credit of $50. And also, if you're not in the top 10 and you have two remaining teams in the Final Four that you selected, you will also get a $50 credit. So a lot of good stuff there. And a lot of you have taken advantage of the $199 special package we got going for each and every handicapper. Jesse seems to be very popular when it comes to that choice right now. So me and Sean, give us some love, and the other guys too, as $199 will get you the rest of the NCAA tournament, NIT, CBI, and yes, Sean, CIT. It does exist. So Sean enlightened me on that yesterday. I know they went on a hiatus for a while, but they reconvened this year. Not that the matchups in that CIT are very appealing, but anyway, Jesse, how are you, my man?
Well, Ross, 2024 has been a great year so far, but the last 4 days have been downright ugly for me. Perhaps I'm not as good as I once was, but I was good once as I ever was.
Like I told you, I tell my wife that every night. But Sean, are you as good as you once was, or are you still good, or do you continue to be good?
I'm the same. Of course, I go like 3-3. That's how I roll. I'm either 500, a couple games over 500, a game under 500, and I just, Irvine, I had +8 yesterday. Just missed out on that one. Colorado State, big winner. South Florida, big winner. North Texas, a couple doggies outright. So you kind of see how I go with my plays with the dogs, and well, what am I gonna do? It is what it is, folks. We're on to the next day. A couple games today, 6 games, 7 games tomorrow, Friday.
Yep. So that's it. We wipe the slate clean and move forward. We don't panic. And you know what? That should
Russ,
tell you something.
I was gonna say real fast. Sorry to interrupt. When right. I see like Jesse's had a loser, you had a loser, and I see like some people on Twitter who you kind of respect the business, like, oh man, tough one. So I don't feel as not that I don't ever feel bad when I lose, but when other people who you respect are kind of like in a little funk, you kind of say, okay, we all can't be that off on our numbers and be that wrong. Right. So it's kind of the ebbs and flows of betting. When everybody's kind of going one way, you got to be like, what is happening here? It's, we're all not terrible with how we do things. So kind of a little solace in that when people respect.
I just think that there's a lot of people out there that just can't believe that anybody makes money over the long haul in sports betting because they never have been able to. And, there's some truth to that matter because it's a proven fact that 1% of people who bet on sports over the course of an entire year on a regular basis make a profit, and the other 99% don't. But you know what? We're in that 1 percentile, and we could say that confidently because when we give you records that how well we're doing over a long course of time, it's all documented right on several sites here independently. And that's the difference between us and a lot of people. And the other difference is we're transparent. You just heard Jesse, who's had a tremendous 2024, instead of focusing in on what he's done for the entire year, he's let you know that he's had a couple rough days. But you know what? At the rate he was going at, it's virtually impossible for somebody to win like that for the entire season. So we're going to have a little bit of peaks and valleys, and our peaks are a lot higher than our valleys. And Sean told you the same thing. He went 3-3 yesterday. Again, he's being transparent. I'm telling you that I've had a terrible start to 2024. However, yesterday was a different story. And if you were with me last year during March Madness, you know how well I did. As a matter of fact, I went 26-14 in the month of March with my NIT and NCAA tournament selections last year, and got off to a 3-1 start yesterday. As I had Colorado State against Virginia, 67-42. Boy, oh boy, guys. I said it yesterday or on our NCAA tournament show. How is Virginia in the tournament? They scored entering the tournament. They scored less than 50 points in 4 of their last 8 games, and now make it 5 of the last 9. What a joke! But I took advantage of it. In the NIT, I went 2-1. I had the Irvine game with Utah over the total of 149. It fell on 159, and I also had Virginia Tech -6, who won by 16 over Richmond. So again, you can get my March Madness package as well as Jesse and Sean's too for just $199. Get the rest of the NCAA, NIT, CBI, and CIT tournaments right through the championship games. All right, we got 3 more college basketball winners on Thursday's card in the NCAA tournament. And if you missed yesterday's show, we had 3 other NCAA tournament picks for Thursday. So you can get that by going to gamblersworld.net in our archive page and clicking on that. And you could listen in on yesterday's show as well, as it's still up to date because the games haven't been played yet. Don't forget, folks, it's real important to us. And it should be to you, because we want this whole thing to continue what we're doing here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. Please hit the like button. It's just a small token of your appreciation, and it goes a long way with our sponsor, too. So hit that like button. We would deeply appreciate it. Jesse, let's start with you, my man. Michigan State and Mississippi State. You know, again, I'm real interested to hear your take here, and Sean's as well, because I mentioned that on our NCAA tournament show on Monday. By the way, you can get that on our archives too. And I was shocked that Michigan State made it number 1, and then to be a number 9 seed was even more shocking to me, because I don't think Michigan State's that good. I know Izzo has that reputation, Jesse, at this time of year, you know, they have of having his teams ready and succeeding and having his teams gel at the right time. But you look, gelling at the right time, this is almost like you have to turn on the switch right now, because you haven't gelled down this final stretch of the regular season. And right now, Michigan State's a 1-point favorite, the total 130.5. Jesse, take it away, man.
Well, Ross, a first touch on the total, 130.5. That's a pretty low number. I don't know that either of these two teams have seen a number that low in recent games. People are probably getting pretty bored of me talking about unders, talking about totals. I've said it over and over again last year in the tournament, 33-11 to the under in the first round. The data goes back 5 years, 58% to the under, 20 years, 55% to the under. And over the last 20 tournaments, 17 of those tournaments saw more unders than overs. I want to take the under here, but I look at that number of 130.5, and I think the one reason why you don't follow a trend like this is if the bookmakers make the correct adjustments and they suck up all the value. And I see that number of 130.5, and I hear Ross Benjamin on my shoulder saying, that total's low for a reason. They're trying to tell you something, but that's not my methodology. That's Ross's methodology. That's Sean subscribes to. For me, I want the value. I don't see as much as I want to take the under here. I can't do it because I don't see the value there. And that leaves me with the side. And then you guys touch on Virginia. It was a down year for the ACC. Virginia apparently was exposed as a fraud yesterday. It was also a down year for the Big Ten. And perhaps Michigan State gets exposed. Ross says they shouldn't be here, and I tend to agree. You look at the teams they beat. I wasn't impressed with the Big Ten this year. And, the SEC, Mississippi State, who are they playing every night? Auburn, Tennessee. They recently just beat Tennessee. Tennessee's obviously a pretty great team, even though they're susceptible to being upset. Based on strength of schedule, based on the fact that I have a lot more respect for the upper echelon teams in the SEC than I do for the average team in the Big Ten, I'm going to have to go with a Mississippi State team that was 8-1 at neutral sites this year compared to a Michigan State team that was 2-3 at neutral sites. Give me the 1 point with Mississippi State.
Yeah. That's a good point, the neutral site thing. And if you missed yesterday's show, I had New Mexico as my pick on Thursday, and one of the things that I cited was New Mexico being 8-0 straight up in ATS and neutral sites. And yeah, Jesse, you could be an under player, and that trend worked very well last year in the NCAA tournament, especially in the first round, as you alluded to. But you still got to pick your spots. I've hit 62% of my college basketball totals over the last 2 years, starting with March 10th of 2022. Recently, down in the last month or so, I've hit a lot of overs. Okay. I went the other way. And it's just not like because you're winning with overs, or in Jesse's case, winning with unders. It's not like you get married to just using those regularly. You have to pick your spots in which you do so. And like Jesse says, okay, 70% of the games went under, but 30% went over. And you want to make sure that the games that you're isolating, whether it's an over or an under, makes a lot of sense. So, Sean, any thoughts in terms of Michigan State and Mississippi State?
Well, yeah, because you look at Mississippi State and you're like, okay, they play Florida and Tennessee and Kentucky and Auburn, and they beat Tennessee 2 times. And they had, tough games versus South Carolina, who, again, not much respect for South Carolina still on March 20th as we do the show. They're a pick 'em. But I look at that as, what are they trying to tell you here? Michigan State's favored. They're favored in this game. We're still waiting for them to turn on. They fooled you. They had a nice little 4-game stretch. You're like, all right, this is what we'd expect out of Michigan State. Start a little slow. We got to gel a little bit. And then they lose 5 in a row or whatever after that. But yeah, I like the over because I think we're going to see some points here because I don't think Michigan State's dead in the water. I think it's going to be one of those 75-70 kind of games.
Yeah. Let me rephrase what I said earlier about Michigan State. I was surprised they made the tournament, not shocked.
I was shocked. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. Like, how's Pitt and Syracuse? They have the same record, but it's the Big Ten because it's come on, it's Michigan State as opposed to 2 coaches in Syracuse.
The part where I was shocked, Sean, was I was surprised they made the tournament. I was shocked that they were a number 9 seed. Not only did they weren't one of the last 4 to get in or something like that. You know what I mean? They weren't a 10 seed. Number 9
Virginia
seed.
Last night. Like, why isn't Colorado State should have been in? Because I could argue that the Mountain West was better than, I don't care, and Purdue's a great team. They had 4 losses.
It's a legitimate argument.
I could have said their top 6 teams are better collectively than top 6 teams in the Big Ten.
And here we are in the first 4, which are normally reserved for the last 4 teams that the committee chose. And Boise State and Colorado State were in the last 4. Yet Michigan State is the number 9 seed. Anyway, all right, let's get to our next game, Sean. While we have you here, Texas Tech, a team that a lot of us, or us 3 anyway, have used on several occasions throughout the course of the year on this show. They're going to be taking on NC State. Now, here's the thing with this: NC State. There's only been 2 teams in the history of the NCAA conference tournaments that have won 5 games in 5 days to qualify for the NCAA tournament. And basically, if you win 5 games in 5 days, it's only been done twice, and NC State did it this year. That means you're a very low seed and you have no shot of making the NCAA tournament unless you win 5 games in 5 days, and that's exactly where NC State is right now. Texas Tech is a 5-point favorite in this game against NC State, 145.5. Again, we talked about this yesterday, Sean. It's not so much the physical toll of the 5 games in 5 days, but the emotional toll of knowing you have to win every night and putting it on the line every night. And less than a week later, you open up in the NCAA tournament after that emotional high. Is NC State in for an emotional letdown here? Certainly Texas Tech is not going to take them lightly based on what they just saw.
So, real fast on the 5 and 5 days, did Syracuse do a 5 and 5 or 6 and 6 one year for the Big East with the
No, it's only been triple overtime? It might have been, if it was Syracuse, that was the only other time it was done.
I remember one year they just because I was like, all right, this is the 3rd game, no way, and I fade them, and they were winning triple overtimes. It was a crazy run for them one year. So emotional. You're not in the tournament. You win 5 in a row on a neutral on the Washington Wizards home court, by the way, where now the NC State Wolfpack have more wins than the Washington Wizards, by the way. That's a little tidbit on You beat North Carolina. You beat Duke. I mean, where are you going? Coming into the tournament, you had lost 5 of 7. It's definitely a flat spot. They're giddy to be here. And I will definitely take the Big 12 over the ACC 10 out of 10 times. Give me a team that's beating tournament teams in BYU and Baylor and TCU and Kansas and Texas, as opposed to you got lucky. I should say that. You won the games. However, you knocked in whatever. You got the job done, but come on. Cinderella goes to the ball. You went to the ball. You had a party. You won. Everybody went out for eggs afterwards at 3 in the morning after the big NC State, your North Carolina win. You're hungover now. I don't care. It's 4 days later. It's Texas Tech by double digits here.
All right, Texas Tech -5 over NC State, and Jesse, we've belabored this point many times about the emotional aspect during the NCAA tournament, as opposed, or even during conference tournaments, as opposed to the physical aspect. What's your take on that game or that particular topic?
It was just 2 years ago that Virginia Tech upset everybody in the ACC tournament. They ended up losing to a Big 12 team in round 1, losing to Texas. Texas Tech, the best free throw shooting team in the best conference in college hoops, one of the best 3-point shooting teams. Their head coach won the NIT last year. It ticks all the boxes for me. Letdown spot, mismatch, strength of schedule, quality of conference. Give it to me. One more thing I want to touch on, though. So This line, I believe, opens as a 5, quickly gets bet up to 5.5. The first buys are on Texas Tech. And now, a couple days later, it's creeping back. So which money is the smart money, guys? Is it that first money betting it up, or that buyback the couple days later buying it back down?
Well, my opinion is Texas Tech money early was the smart money, but I'll let Sean talk about this too. But I personally believe that at this point, when it came back down to 5, that people witnessed the great story that NC State was and fell in love with NC State. And this is an attractive number for an underdog that won 5 games in 5 days, and it captured a lot of the college basketball world's attention. And so I would tend to believe, Jesse, the early money on Texas Tech is the sharp money. But Sean, your thoughts?
Because those are the guys, I think, again, and they're not taking huge bets on that, and little things move it. But are you looking to really, I need an extra half point with NC State? Like, who's if you're taking NC State, you think they're riding a wave and they have a chance to win this game. So that 5.5, what's the difference be 5? Because you think they're going to be in it to the end and losing by 2 on the buzzer anyway. So it's definitely, I think the first move is to I guess the side they want on Tech. I mean, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is a 5.5. It's not 10. It's not pushing it to a double digit. It's not pushing it to 6, where it's, or 6.5, where it's 2 threes or something, or bringing it down. That's what kind of number is that in basketball? 5.5. That's not a crazy number.
I'm of the opinion that if you're betting college hoops on Sunday night on Selection Sunday, you're probably sharper than the average bear.
No doubt. There's no doubt about it, especially if money comes in on the under. You know what I mean? Because I've said this numerous times. The general public loves the overs. Okay, they become a little sharper as years have moved on, especially now with all the legalities in many states in the United States now. So there's a lot more people who take this seriously. But
there's a lot
no
more
doubt
content
about
out there too for them to learn, Ross.
Yeah.
You got, they come in our show and hear
Yeah.
how we think about things, and like, oh, maybe they're right, and for as much as probably 90% of people want to do things on their own, there are those people who be like, whatever, I'll just do it. This guy said this, I'm going to do it, and they're just letting it grow and learning on their own and trying to do the smart thing.
Yeah, and I mentioned this on several occasions. There is a site that I look at that I've found it's a consensus of several sports books on the volume of bets and the actual money being placed on a specific team or teams. And right now, they're showing 62% of the volume of bets has been on North Carolina State, and 53% of the money has gone to North Carolina State. So to answer your question, Jesse, that further strengthens my opinion to say that early money on Texas Tech is sharp money. But it's nothing to get caught up with. I think that who cares what the sharp money is? I think we've made points as to why you should probably go with Texas Tech in this situation because, again, the emotional toll that it takes to win 5 games in 5 days. And then on top of that, in a championship game, you beat a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, who's your arch rival in North Carolina. So there's a lot of things to believe that leads us to believe that this is a letdown spot for North Carolina State. All right, let me get to Mike. Yeah, go ahead.
They beat a team that had already clinched a number 1 seed in a conference that stood to gain from getting one more team into the NCAA. Just one more point to that.
Yeah, and again, but it's still a rivalry, right? It would not probably. They use that as extra incentive. We've won 4 games in 4 days, and now we're playing our bitter rival in North Carolina. And what better way to finish off this Cinderella run is to beat our arch rival? So, you know what I'm trying to say, Jesse? I'm making a point toward the emotional letdown from that type of run and how it culminated.
Russ, I'll be sure with this point with the smart money and people coming early. I don't think the public knows these kind of groups that move. They have a lot of money, and they're playing a lot of games, and they might be on both sides at one point thinking, all right, I got to get off that number, and we're looking for better numbers. They're not just dilly-dallying like the public is. They'll be happy with I could get a middle here. Like, that's their mindset. Like if I could do this, they're going to try to make – the average person is not attuned to that. They're on one game. They're not on the other 7 games or 8 games. You know what I'm saying? So they might be lucky and catch one, but they miss the other 5.
Yeah, so there's 2 schools of thoughts with that. Now that we're on that topic, and I don't want to belabor it further. Jesse and Sean both are sharp enough where they know that more times than not, they're going to make the right decision in terms of getting a better number by getting down early. And they're very good at it. I'm of the school of thought that I isolate some games when I look at the early lines and say, I believe I can get a better line if I wait. So there's 2 ways to look at that. Either way, nobody's wrong. But I will tell you that emphatically that I believe the way they do things is more toward the sharper side. Not to say I'm not sharp, because I've proven to be. But if you're trying to evaluate a line move early, more times than not, sharp money will indicate what happens early on. And keep in mind, too, Sean just said sharp players and groups of guys that are sharp players and move a lot of money. They have a lot of money in their account. Okay. So they could afford to bet a game 5 or 6 days ahead of time, where it's not going to affect what they do the rest of the week, where a guy who has $500 in his account is worried that if he puts 220 to win 200 on a team, that he's only going to be left for 280 the rest of the week, and he might run out of money before that game even starts. So,
and Ross, they can make
that
ahead. Move. Everybody and it adjusts. It goes up, and then the public says, "Oh my goodness, this is the play." Then it goes up another 1.5, and here they come in. They're waiting and waiting and waiting, and boom, they come in, double up the other side, and they're in a good spot. Whether they're going to hit with the dog or they're in the middle situation as well.
Yeah, and again, either way, it's not an assurance you're going to win. And in Jesse and Sean's case, there's a minority at times, and I think that I could speak for them when I say that, where they're on the wrong side of the move, or they anticipated a move one way and it didn't happen. And same thing with me. I anticipate if I'm going to get a better number and I don't, I would have been well suited to get down early. So there's no assurances in that regard. What you want to do is whatever way you do it, whether my way or Jesse and Sean's way, you want to make sure that when you're doing this over a long course of time, you're right on getting the right number with your methodology. And that doesn't assure you're going to win the game either, so there's a lot of aspects here. All right, let me get to our game, because we went on a little too long with that, but that's okay. Hopefully you people learned something from this discussion. All right, I'm looking at McNeese State and Gonzaga. That's a classic 12 versus 5, where it's been proven over the years the 12 wins, but that the 12 has done very well against the 5. But as Sean pointed out yesterday, that wasn't the case last year. And Gonzaga is a 6.5 point favorite now, and the total is 150. I say 6.5 point favorite now because it was 6. This is a Gonzaga team that at the beginning of the year, everybody kept saying this isn't the same Gonzaga teams we've seen in years past. And over their last 13 games against anybody else not named St. Mary's, Gonzaga went 13-0. And that includes an 89-85 win at Kentucky, a really, really impressive non-conference win. But again, I always hesitate with Gonzaga and the St. Mary's because they dominate within their conference. Now, Gonzaga does play a tough non-conference schedule, and they always have. But here's the thing with Gonzaga this year. They're 2-3 this year versus non-conference games versus teams that made the tournament. McNeese State is sneaky good, guys. 30-3. They've won 25 of their last 26. Now, they haven't beat the who's who of college basketball, but in their non-conference schedule, quality wins at Virginia Commonwealth, who got to the finals of the A-10. UAB, who won the AAC and is in the NCAA tournament. Of course, they went to Michigan and won by 10 early when Michigan was still somewhat formidable. As we know, they closed the season terribly. And this is also McNeese State through the course of the season. They're plus 18.9 points per game differential. They're number 7 nationally in three-point shooting, 39.4%. And like Sean likes to say, the great equalizer for an underdog in college basketball is the ability to hit a three-point shot at a high rate. And McNeese State certainly qualifies in that regard. And defensively this year, they've held opponents to less than 62 points per game and less than 40% shooting. And by the way, Gonzaga this year is 3-11 against the spread versus opponents that hold the opposition to 42% or less on the year shooting. So I'm going to take a shot here, guys. I don't necessarily call for the outright upset here, even though it wouldn't shock me. But I'm going to take McNeese here, plus 6.5 against Gonzaga. Sean?
I didn't even realize when I was doing the games, I'm like, not that I just jump on the 12 seed because it's 12 seed, but I liked a lot of the 12 seeds. And it wasn't even a fact that there were 12 seeds. It was like I saw the lines, and I think publicly with the Gonzaga line, the Kansas line, these kind of numbers. And I'm with you. I took McNeese just because they're, the metrics, you see the Bartovics and the Kempoms of the world have them rated in a spot. And yeah, it's not a super sexy schedule. And you have Gonzaga, who plays St. Mary's and Kentucky and, Purdue and tougher type teams. But it comes to the number, and it's one of those numbers where it's think like a bookmaker, like it's a 6.5. Like that looks too. I think that line should have been a 9. I look at that number. Why isn't that number like 9? It's McNeese. Let's be honest. I know Gonzaga is down. They've had a good run. They beat Mary's there to really solidify that kind of run they're on when they really demolished San Francisco and stuff. But coming into that, it's kind of like, oh boy, they have not been that good. But all of a sudden, you beat Kentucky, you beat St. Mary's. You crush a team by 30 points, and then it changes the perception. I'm with you. Give me McNeese here. I'm getting a few points. I think I should get more, but it hasn't gone that way. It's bizarre. It hasn't gone up, hasn't gone down. I saw one open at 6, one open at 6.5, so it's kind of steady to where it is. I'm with you on the dog.
Yeah, Sean, I'm sure you recollect this as well. To me, there's been a lot of times the number 12 seed has been a pick 'em or even a small favorite against a 5. Yeah. And that was looks like a true giveaway to me when I see that. That's not the case here, but again,
brand court,
Yeah, brand perception here. You know what I mean? Just think, if this game was at McNeese State, Gonzaga would only be about, 3-point favorite. But anyway, Jesse, what's your thoughts?
I'm with you guys with McNeese. I've never been a big fan of Gonzaga when they build up the impressive record in the WCC. And particularly this year, as you guys said, they had some impressive wins against the win against Kentucky seemed like it came out of nowhere to me. That was a really shocking result, especially after seeing them lose games to teams like Washington. They lose the conference final against Mary's, and they appear to be ripe for the picking. And if you're giving me 6.5 points, I'll be inclined to take the points.
Yeah, and don't forget, before you people all start chiming in and saying no way Gonzaga is going to lose to McNeese, we're getting 6.5 here, folks. This is a sports betting show, okay? We're not a March Madness picking operation kind of. This is what brackets. You do. Yeah, no. No, I could tell you that I always try to pick a couple upsets on my bracket, and this was one of them. But you listen. If they're going to give you 6.5, take it. Don't get greedy. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, guys, great show as always. These two guys will be back with me on Friday for a live show at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So you want to put that in your calendar, folks. We got a good response on last Friday's show, and we hope that you all chime in with your questions and comments and tune in on Friday. That's 1 p.m. Eastern time right here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, which takes me to this. If you have not subscribed to our channel, I don't know why you wouldn't. It's absolutely free. Everybody likes free. There's no strings attached. There's no hidden agenda. We're not playing games with you. Just hit that subscribe button. It's free. And there's a bigger advantage if you take one step further. If you have subscribed or you're new, click on your YouTube settings and click on the alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our 5 podcasts weekly going up on our channel. Jesse, we always close the show with you, and there's a like button underneath, and people look forward to your emphatic show of enthusiasm. So what should they do with the like button?
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button. It's now or somewhere around midnight in Thailand, and Jesse just woke up. All his neighbors, including his 2 kids upstairs, and his wife was about to yell at him. But in any event, smash that like button, folks. It's just a small token of your appreciation for the time, work, and effort we put into bringing you a quality podcast each and every day. And our theme has always been, continues to be, and always will be, to make you a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday. I'll be back tomorrow with Doug Upstone. We'll be discussing 2 NCAA tournament games on Friday. Until then, for Jesse, Schule, Sean Higgs, and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless, folks.